that we should acknowledge there are councillors. We also have MPs. We've got another great MP for the inner city is Jamie Parker, the MP for Glebe. Unfortunately, his elected is called Balmain, but we call him the Glebe MP. And we welcome him here today. He's also a representative of the Greens, so please welcome Jamie Parker.
Well, good morning, everyone. First of all, Barney, what a fantastic speech. A round of applause for Barney. That was absolutely incredible. Really good speech, Barney. I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land of my electorate, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay respects to their elders both past and present, and extend that to any Aboriginal people here today, and all of you who are gathered. Now, today, I wanted to talk a little bit about my electorate. I'm the member for Balmain. That includes fantastic public housing areas like Glebe, because housing is a right, it's not a privilege. For you to be able to have somewhere to live in a country as gifted in natural resources as this country is something that all of us should rely on, and we shouldn't have to be in a situation where public housing residents are treated like second-class citizens just because they have a right to housing, and it's something which everyone deserves in a civilised society. And that goes to one of the issues that the Hands Off Glebe people have been talking about, which is repairs. The next R. And the repairs situation is scandalous. The fact is that this state government is a slumlord. That's the truth. And I want to talk to you a little bit about why that is. Because the assets here in New South Wales, the houses, are looked after by a group called the New South Wales Land and Housing Corporation. And that body looks after all of the assets, all of the houses. But we know, because the Auditor General did a report on this last year, that every year it's tens and hundreds of millions of dollars in deficit. Every year they haven't got enough money to pay for the repairs, to pay for the staff, to pay for everything else. And that's been the case under this government and the last Labor government. And what have those governments done? They've done nothing. Because what happened, around 1996, John Howard, our mate John Howard, probably soon to be Sir John Howard, our mate John Howard cut a lot of funding to public housing. But the state governments never came to terms with it. They just always hoped that somewhere down the track, hundreds of millions of dollars would fall out of the sky. So what happened under Labor? We saw housing properties start to get sold. We saw the privatisation of housing. And what they were doing, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of properties every year. We saw the selling of housing to make up for the shortfall. And so what we saw in Glebe is dozens of houses sold. In Wollongong, hundreds of houses sold. And they're just eating up all of those houses, eating them all up, not actually investing in public housing. And I said to the Minister in the House, I said, you know what I find unbelievable? This government can find $300 million for the poker machine industry to give them tax deductions, but they can't find $1 more for public housing. And that's the disgrace. This government came in with a debt left to it by the last government of over $300 million worth of maintenance deficit. $300 million. And you are the people that are living the consequences of that. Carpets that haven't been changed for 20 years, kitchens that don't work, leaking roofs, problem with sewage. I see it in Glebe every day. And we're fighting for that, and we're fighting for this government and the Labor government to say no more to the selling of houses and the privatisation of people's homes. No more to letting people live in slum-like conditions and pretending that everything's okay. No more lacking respect to tenants, to treating them just like people they can ignore and you can wait years to get something done. There needs to be investment in public housing, and that means tax dollars put into maintenance to expand public housing, to maintain public housing, and have the kind of society that we all deserve, not the kind of society that we're seeing now. The Miller's Point, the government's saying, oh, we'll sell all these properties, we'll make all this money. They're high-value properties, they say. They say they're properties that require a lot of maintenance. And what I say to the Minister is, okay, what happens after you sell Miller's Point? Next year, there'll be another deficit again of $100, $200 million, and the year after that, and the year after that. What's the solution? The solution is they look at Glebe. The solution is they look at Rozelle, they look at Maroubra, they look at all these places in the inner city and in places which they think are too good for public housing, and they'll sell it. That's the truth. So I'm going to come here. As your local MP in the Parliament, I'll be fighting with the Greens to make sure that we defend public housing, we expand public housing, and we respect public housing residents. It's also important to note that the fight for Millers Point can be won. People here from Glebe will know, and I'll finish on this point in Glebe, that the Glebe Youth Service occupies the Department of Housing building, and they were evicted. They were evicted last year by the Department of Housing. They said, oh, it's going to cost $2 million to fix, they said. There's all these problems. We're going to evict you. Well, we put on a hell of a fight. We put on a fight. We had rallies, we had letter writing, we had a whole lot of different campaigning. And you know what happened? Miraculously, the government realised, well, the problem's actually only $20,000. They fixed it, and the Glebe Youth Service is back in there, operating and looking after the youth of the Glebe community. So I want to leave you with this point, that if you fight, if you're united, we can win. If we work with a whole group of people, we've got a whole range of organisations we work with, we can stop dead in its tracks this position that Labor held, which is selling off properties as a way to deal with the deficit, and the position the Liberals hold, and they're accelerating, is that they sell properties to pay off the deficit. We need to invest in public housing to defend the tenants in the local community and make sure we can have a society we can all be proud of. Thank you.